So I want to thank you guys for being here. This is the third part of our series. And basically what we're just doing is just adding value to real estate agents apparently all across the country, Mark's in Naples, Florida, just to help them have better tools to be more successful. Last month, we did the buyer presentation. That was amazingly received. Leslie did a live buyer consult for you guys. And we put that buyer presentation out there for people to go get if they wanted it. We've actually had some people from Atlanta say they came across it, they modified it, and they're getting results with it, right? Getting different results than they would have had without it, right, Leslie?
Yeah, it's been pretty incredible, the conversations we've gotten to have about it.
Yeah. And this has been, and the reason we've created these presentations is you should always have one. So that the consumer, the clients, the customers know what your value is to their equation. But also it helps us give our agents the systems and tools to be successful. It's a lot easier to train when you know exactly what it is you're supposed to be doing all the time, right? So now we're doing the listing, and in my mind, I've been doing the listings for a long time. And this is the last. I'm still in operations, even though we have a team. I still do the listings. I just like it. They're trying to get me out. That's why we're developing this system. They're trying to get me out of the way, really. So that's why we started developing this system. And because it's so competitive in Austin, we kind of came up or landed on this process that we know is to be very effective in getting sellers the maximum amount of money that the market will pay without like a lot of stress. You're going to see that this presentation is really simple. There's not like this 3D model of ecosystem and all this other stuff in it that's really confusing. It's just it's straight to the point. And I hope you enjoy it. I hope you get a lot out of it, actually, because I think sometimes it's pretty easy to complicate things when they don't need to be complicated. And the listing presentation is one of them. The simpler it is, I found the easier it is to get the listing agreement signed when you display professionalism and market knowledge and you have a system that works. Just a quick intro. So just so you guys know, I look over here because I have a monitor that has my notes for this, and then I have you guys and then this guide. So that's why I keep shifting my head around. Sorry about that. We're going to walk through the entire listing process, and I'll explain that because within the listing process is the listing presentation, but actually the listing presentation starts when they first reach out to you. And we'll talk about what that really means. And I stop and I'll give commentary throughout. So you're not going to get what you got with Leslie, which was just an uninterrupted buyer presentation. I can't help myself. I just like to talk and explain things to you guys. Okay. My team's nodding their head. Yes. Sorry, guys. That's how you know who they are. If they just nodded yes. And then at the end of it, just throw your questions in the chat. You may have some objections that you hear a lot that you want to talk about. You may wonder why we're doing certain things. Just throw them in the chat and we'll do it afterwards. This will only take about 20-30 minutes, and then we can get into dialogue after that. And we can talk about anything that you want to talk about. The whole point of this is while we're growing our team, we come back to that. The whole point of this is to give you guys tools to be more successful, right? I just like to help you people. And if you're agents, you don't know me and you're thinking about other things, I'm not going to recruit you here. If you're interested in seeing what we can do to help your business, I would love to have that conversation with you. We are building something special. We continue to double our units and our sales constantly. So if you're interested in being on the team and you're ready to get going, I'd love to have that conversation too. That's probably the last time I'll say that this afternoon. Okay. Is that fair? Good. All right. So we'll go ahead and just real quick. So I've been doing this for 25 years in Central Texas. I've been through a few of the ups and downs of it personally and professionally. It's been quite a ride, about 7 years. Started building a team with Stephanie. So she's on vacation in Key West, actually. We just like have kind of gradually gotten to know what's more important or what's the most important thing about having a team other than just making money. It's more than just making money. And we've been able to piece together and get some really amazing people on the team. There's Christine and Bailey and Tammy and Adrienne. Leslie's come along, and within 2 years, she started running the whole sales department, which includes she's running me when I have my sales hat on. Raise your hand, Leslie. Yeah. And Christine, raise your hand. Cody, can you raise your hand? Bailey, she's stepping in she's our amazing marketing person. Christine does our transaction management. Cody's one of our realtor partners. Tammy's a realtor partner. Give it up for Tammy. Julia, Realtor partner, Adrian, Realtor partner. We're missing a couple of people, but just to give you an idea, like we just love to help you guys out. We've had just a tremendous amount of success lately. Well, we've been kind of building up to it. So that's who we are. You can ask us any question you want to a little bit later, okay? Perfect. All right. So we're going to walk through the listing process. We're going to walk through the listing presentation, the commentary, the Q&A. I made you a promise. I'm not going to sit here and just recruit you the whole time because that's not the point of this. All right. So let's just go ahead and talk about it. The listing. All right. I'm going to go ahead and share. I'm going to share the screen with you, even though it's not going to change a whole lot. Thanks for being patient with me and my amazing technology skills. Does that work?
Yep.
You guys see that? Okay, perfect.
Perfect.
You guys know, like when you go shopping for like a car right now, let's say, nowadays, in the old days, it used to be you would find a salesperson, you go through that process, you go to all the dealers, you test drive, you learn, you get the brochures, you sit down through their spiel and all that stuff. It's changed a little bit now, right? And it was starting to change with technology. And then with COVID, it totally changed. Now the consumers, clients, families, whatever you want to call them, like now they do almost all the investigative work and the research they need to do right before they call you. Okay. So, and this is really important for you guys to understand in a whole lot of levels. The presentation, and because I'm going to bounce around a little bit on this, just bear with me. So they're going to go and Google you. They're going to look at your Facebook. They're going to look at your Instagram. If they were referred to you, that's great. They're still going to go cyber stalk you and see that you're the type of person that they want to do business with. Okay. One of our coaches says that the Facebook, your personal Facebook page is your new business page. So like you've probably learned already, you've got to be really careful about what you post, to be really intentional about that stuff. You may have strong opinions about what's going on in the world right now. It will affect your business if you post it out there. Okay. You just got to know those things. You got to be thinking about it. But they're going to go all the way through. And right when they click that send button, they call you, they text you, they email you, they'll come in all those forms. That's your sign that that listing present, like you have passed 80% of the listing presentation already. You basically need to get in there and not do something ridiculous. Okay. Then we'll talk about that. This also means that they are ready to go. Like 95% of the time. We're going to talk in high percentage numbers because that's what it's shifted to. The consumer does all their research. They're even going to be on HGTV learning about the things they need to declutter and arrange and show you how clever they are when you walk in their house. And they're going to be in it, right? And so when they call you, it's like they're ready to go. And so you've got to be able to react to it and respond to it really quickly. All right. Is anybody else having that kind of experience? Or is that just us in Austin? Like when they call you, it's like, it's time to go. There's still, okay, a couple of you, there's still the people you've got to nurture and bring along, but we're getting a lot more, especially lately with equity bouncing up 40% in the last 2 years. People are serious about getting their home sold and they want somebody to come talk to them immediately and to have a plan to execute quickly, which is what we're going to give you today. Okay. Now, basically, when you get to their front door, when you get out of your car, that's when the meter is ticking on that listing presentation. All right. Now, I'm still walking you guys through just this listing process. The presentation starts when you walk up, when you get out of your car, you park at their curb. Okay. So when we know when our phone rings or we get an email or we get a text message, like we've got to respond to them quickly and we instantly, and we jump into, we've got like 30 questions that we need to get answered positively or negatively, or with, you know, to determine what their motivation is and the reason that they want to move, what's important to them, how they found out about us, more about the house. Because when we go there, we want to be prepared for whatever condition the house is. We can recommend a price. All right. A lot of what was going on with technology in the market itself, and now with Corona and all that's everything that changed with that, like I was already spending too much time in somebody's house. They've decided in 15 minutes if they're going to hire me or not. Right. So I was trying to figure out how can I get answers to all these questions. They're still getting value, right? They're still getting valuable information. And they see that we're great at lead follow-up. We're great at connecting. We know what we're talking about. So we decided to start shifting everything to like the pre-listing side of it. Does that make sense? Gathering intelligence on their situation, things like that. So we have 30 questions that we ask them that we, Chris, our ISA inside sales agent, I guess he's working, good. that we asked them to answer before I'll even go out there and see it. But it tells guys, I can literally, once I get that information, and with all the information that's available online, you can basically narrow down into 3 categories what the price range is going to be for a house. You don't have to commit to these things, okay? But, and we'll go through this again. But you can narrow it down, and then you have your lane. So when you get there, so you don't have to go back and forth and leave and let me email you and I'll figure it out and do all that stuff. You can have it all compressed right there in your presentation. So inside of like 20 minutes, you can walk out of there with a signed listing agreement. You can turn it over to your listing team and they can start doing the things that they need to do so that client's feeling well served. Now, how many of you like the idea of just spending 20 or 30 minutes in somebody's house? Trust me, it's amazing, right? When you know that your team's going to be able to execute at a high level to get this done. Okay, so all right. One of the things we go through this presentation, I have a lot of resources here that some of you may or may not have. Some of you may have more than this. I'm gonna, with this 5-day process, I'm gonna explain to you in your listing presentation, if you'll just take the resources that you have access to, that your broker has access to, and you substitute it for what we have there, that's okay. What the consumer doesn't know what they don't know. So if you go in there and you're walking through there and you're talking about marketing and you're talking about what's the word I'm looking for? Marketing and promotion. Thank you. You're talking about your marketing and promotion, all the great things you do to keep the phone ringing, to make sure you're in constant dialogue with all the leads that are coming in and all that stuff. Just use the resources that you have. You don't have to use mine. You don't like that. If that's overwhelming to you, that's fine. Or it's not, don't worry about it. Just put in your resources, just a little tidbit for you, okay? Great, okay. All right, so I have in my notes here now, is it really 20 minutes? It's not really 20 minutes.
Clay, can I ask a quick question?
Yeah, could you put it in the chat?
I will.
And we'll get to that. Thank you, Jeff. Okay, so unless it's something like, can you guys hear me or anything like that? Is that the issue? Okay. All right, good. So, okay, so the call or the email has come in. That's when the listing presentation basically has started. That's when the interview is, right? That's what's going on. They want to see how you respond to them, how quickly you react to them, how well you listen to them on the phone. All these questions that you're going to ask them, these 30 questions, I think we've only got 10 here. You're going to get that you're gathering that information and you're listening to what they say, okay? And there's tricks you can use to improve your credibility and your influence on them by slowing down and listening, right? Using your tonality, all those tricks that you learn in Bold or in other coaching programs, they're all still very effective, okay? I'm bouncing around a little bit. I'm so excited. All right. What was I talking about? Asking the questions, you get there. Okay, right. So you set the appointment, you show up, and we'll just talk about what this looks like. Okay. So what I do when I get to a house is I'll get there about 10 minutes early and I'll text them and say, hey, I'm outside. Let me know when it's okay to come up. So what I've just done is shown them that I'm reliable. I can be there on time, right? My car is clean because they're watching, either they're watching you on Ring or they're watching you through the window, right? To see how you present and how you handle yourself. Stop and get out of the car. A lot of you, this is for everybody, right? Stop and get out of the car, take out your notepad and start writing notes and nod your head up and down, yes, right? Oh, they need to mow the yard, or how long has that car been sitting there, right? You write those things down, or this is gorgeous. Like, look at this view, right? Look at the trees. They spend a lot of time on landscaping. Look at the paint, the gutters, the roof, all those things. Start writing it down. Because as you're walking around, they're going to see what you're writing, right? This is how I like to build rapport with them, just to validate that they chose the right person. I'm the one paying attention to everything that they've done to the house. Right? Walk up to the door. I can have a conversation with you guys about hygiene. I'm just gonna assume you guys know what that means. All right. Some people surprise me. You walk up and you walk in and you say, hey, this is Clay Byrne, Byrne Real Estate Group. I just texted you. Glad you're here. A little bit early. You mind if I come in? Shake their hand. Or if they do the fist bump thing, do the fist bump thing. One of the things I've learned, especially in Austin, because we have so many cultures moving here right now, because it's a tech, there's just a lot of people moving here, pay attention to who's wearing shoes and who's not wearing shoes. I got a listing the other day, not that long ago, not the other day, right before the end of the year. One of the reasons they chose me is I took my shoes off. The other guy didn't, okay? That stuff matters, especially in different cultures as we start to blend in the United States. It's new in Austin. See, a lot of you may have already known that. So pay attention to that. Just a little trick for the trade for you guys. Right. And when you walk in, say something that you really like about the house. Oh, wow, I really love what you did with the floors. Or I really love the natural light that's coming in. Right. When you say that, and they're going to say, oh, yeah, we love that too. Write that down. Because you're going to use that in the marketing and the remarks. Okay. You're tracking so far? I know this sounds really like easy and mundane, but I'm telling you, this stuff is gold and it's super simple. All right. A thing I like to say once I walk through is, let me set my things down where we're going to do the paperwork, and then we'll walk around the house. Does that sound good? So I'm future pacing them for the expectations. I'm here to get the listing agreement signed. Okay. And we'll start walking around the house. And one of my favorite things to do when we walk in the house, some agents love to do this, some don't. They're trying to skip it and figure all this stuff out. In my opinion, this is a great time to get an idea of the house so you can pick the price right there at the table instead of going back home and doing research and figuring out what needs to be done in the house to get it ready for sale. Okay, you want to know what does it take to do to get this thing up to speed for the market. Okay, that make sense? Is that good? Okay, thank you for nodding your heads. So you walk in, and each room that you go through, just notice something nice about it and say it out loud. And if you see something that you don't like or needs to be addressed, don't address it right there. That's not the time for it. All right, just write it down. And if they say something they acknowledge, then you can talk about it. All right. But I don't like to say anything negative about the house while I'm still building the rapport. And it's not negative. It's just like things to do, but people can get really defensive about it. All right. I'm sure the people that have been doing this before for a while understand, like every once in a while you'll say something. You're like, hey, I'm just trying to help. Right. So you don't want to put yourself in that position. Okay. So like windows, any kind of updates they've done, all that stuff. If you see something really weird, like one time a guy had taken the sink out of the half bath and just put a cabinet there, like this weird cabinet. I was like, okay, I'll bite. What was the plan here? Right? Every once in a while, you're going to have to ask about that. Okay, so you've walked through the house and you've said, and then, okay, so it looks like this is, I really like your house. I really like the floor plan. I really like the features and benefits, and you can name them. This is great. Now let's talk about, let's go back to the table and let's talk about what the process is, and then we'll do the paperwork. Does that sound good? Great. Remember, they don't want you there that long either. Okay, they just want to see that you have a plan. And since you're already 80% of the way there, by the time they call you and by the time you get there, it's just your job to close the deal, line it up for them, and then get it into operations or just to figure out what your next steps are. Okay. One of the things that's really nice to know about this, guys, when you're going in, when you start getting these calls for these listing presentations, is that like 82 or 86% of these people, they'll hire the first person they talk to as long as they don't totally goof it up. I remember one time back in 1999, there was a magazine called 1999. Most of you probably weren't even born. There was a magazine called Homes and Land. We did a picture of stuff and it said text for more information, right? So I was like, okay, I can't afford this ad, but let's try it. I did it, and a guy called me, or he did it because I put like this amazing resort style, like this vacation type home before that was a thing in Lakeway, right? He called me, Clark and Debbie Easton. I'll never forget. This is my first listing. I had just gone out on my own from being on a team with Elaine Garner. And I went in and I was like, oh my God, I got a listing appointment, because I called him back on the text line. Is there any information you want? Well, we want to move. We want to sell our house. I was like, oh, great. I would love to talk to you about that, y'all. And I went out there and I took the Keller Williams. I was at Keller Williams at the time. I took their listing presentation without even practicing it. This thing was like 30 pages long back then. Right. I'm sitting at their dining room table, like going through this. I'm like, I don't know what half this stuff is. Right. And I was totally it was totally ridiculous. I could tell in their faces I had totally lost it. And at the end of this thing, I'm like, what do I do to save this deal? So on the way out, I'll never forget this. Clark and Debbie Easton, they were like, we were standing between the dining room and their and the front door. And I was like, this is the last moment I have to save this deal. But I was full of energy. I was really young back then. And I was like, I'm going to do what, and I told him, I was like, listen, I really want to earn your business. I will do whatever it takes to sell this thing for $425,000, which was a lot of money back then. It's a lot of money now too, but it was a lot of money back then. Right. And they're like, yeah, we'll let you know. I was literally driving home in a car I couldn't afford, talking on a cell phone I couldn't afford. Back then, the phone bills were like $900 a month. And the guys called me and they were like, all right, Clay, we really like your energy. We're going to give you the listing. I was like, I couldn't believe it. I was screaming Bon Jovi the whole way home. Like, I'll never forget it. Right. That's like, so the point of having the presentation, the point of that story is like, sometimes you're not going to get the presentation right. but you're going to have really good energy, and they're going to feel that, and they're going to feel your commitment. They're going to feel your confidence, and they're going to feel whatever it takes. When you put all that, you're going to do whatever it takes. When you put all that together, you're an unstoppable force, right? And a lot of times with these presentations, we can make them too complicated, which is what I did. It was 30 pages long, and I didn't even practice it. That's another thing that was bad, right? You don't want to do that. This is our presentation's like 5 pages. Because by the time they've hired us and called us, which is what they're going to do for you because you're working on your online resume, right? By the time they call you, the listing's already set. You just got to get there and not throw up like I did and have to figure out how to like save the deal at the last second. I don't recommend that for a living, by the way. All right, anyways. All right, so here we are. So we've just gone through the house. We've just made a lot of notes. Usually I make about a page worth of notes for the average house in the Austin area. It's got the address and their name written on it, and I'm always showing it to them, not on purpose, but I'm letting them look at what I'm writing because I want them to see what I'm doing, right? These are just tricks of the trade. And you're going to sit down and say, okay, I really appreciate you having me here. I'm excited to walk you through this 5-day process to sell your house. And then we're going to do the paperwork. Does that sound good? And they're like, yeah, great. Let's talk about the money. They always want to talk about the money. I said, perfect. I did a little research before I got here, and I came up with this range. All right. And also in that pre-qualification, we've asked them how much money they want for it. We've asked them what they owe on it. We make sure they don't owe any money to like solar companies and water softeners or child support, any of those other things that people sometimes tend to owe. Second liens, things like that. So we make sure we put that in there. This is a sample from when I did, I don't know when, recently. And you sit down and say, okay, you want to talk, we can talk about the money, and we're also going to talk about the process at the same time. Now, I remember when we talked on the phone, you said you needed to be in Naples, Florida by the end of May. Is that still accurate? The answer is yes. Okay, great. You already have an agent in the house there that you want to pick up. Yeah, we just need to be there, and then we're going to do that. Great. Can I recommend a great agent that I know that works there? Yes, perfect. Now, and then you start working it backwards. All right. So you shift, you let them look at the money. You want to let them look at the money, and you sometimes I'll even put the pen on the A and the B. I don't want them thinking about C. I want them thinking about the net on the lower end of things, because I'll walk them through the process. And let's just say this house we walked through needs like, it needs some carpet and a couple rooms touched up. Okay. Because that's pretty normal for most houses. Wouldn't you think? Or don't you think? Would you agree? Yeses? There's a lot of people hiding out behind their cameras right now. Okay. So we talk and say, okay, so here's what I understand. You want to repeat what their motivation is and what their timeline is, because timing is everything right now in the market, right? Right. It's changing a lot. There's a lot of weird information out there. There's a lot of buyers in town. There's not a lot of buyers in town. Interest rates go up. Putin does a weird thing. Something else happens, right? New variant, whatever. It's like a lot of information is coming at us real fast. So you can narrow it down on the timing and just tell them the timing is critical. Okay. So you want to be in there by the end of May. It's the beginning of April. Wow, we don't have a lot of time. Okay. So let's talk about what we need to do to get your home on the market, because you don't want to miss this window. And if they're nodding yes, then you just proceed. If they look at you like, well, what window are you talking about? Then you talk about interest rates going up, right? And you talk about the market in Austin in the Central Texas area peaks out the 3rd week of May. And then it starts to taper off and gets funky. We don't know what to expect, right? So start talking about those things. You just want them to understand that you know what's going on. Okay, so great. So that means we need to be on the market in order to get you in. Like, so does that mean, and then you narrow it down, you want to be in there by the end of May. Does that mean that you've got your money and you're on the road packed up, or you've got your money in the middle of May so that you can then do a lease back, go figure out your living situation, all that stuff, and you get the answer for that? You want to find out what their needs are. And you can tell them, it's like, it's okay if you need a little extra time after closing, we can negotiate that stuff still. There's a time when you won't be able to negotiate that stuff, but we're not there right now. Okay. So we're having a conversation about the timing of it, and I'm writing down the date. They need to be there in May. They need to be there. I could probably even put it on a slide and just fill it out there if we wanted to. I'm not that technologically advanced though. You're writing down the day they want to be there. So then you say, what day do you need to be closed on in order to get your money so you can execute your next steps? And then they'll tell you the date, and you write that down, right? And then you say, okay, so then you back it up 30 days and you say, all right, so you need to be under contract by this date. And you're walking them through the process backwards so that it makes sense to them, because that's how they're thinking about it. They're not thinking about what are the things they need to do right now. They're thinking about, how am I going to get to where I need to be? And what's the easiest way to do it, right? So you got, okay, great. I've got this. All right, so we need to be on the market by you know, we'll say April 15th. Good, we have some time, right? Now I noticed when I was walking around that we need to take care of like a little bit of paint and maybe cleaning the carpets. Did you have a plan for that? And they're like, well, that is like, don't worry, I have a great painter. He's low, you know, that's when you talk about your vendors. Don't go too far into it. It's like, we can handle it. We'll manage it for you. All you do is write the check. But we'll make sure you agree with the price before all that happens, right? And once you hire us here in just a few minutes, then we'll start that process right away. Does that sound good? You're like, most of the time they say yes. Okay. All right. I skipped that part. That was smart. All right. Geez, I just skipped over the main part. Okay. This is what I get for mixing up like this presentation slides versus like the listing presentation slides. That's okay. So one of the things that drives us is our mission. And our mission for everything that we do is to always provide a world-class, extraordinary world-class customer experience. All right. And what that means is that we're very committed to your service, your results, making sure you're getting the attention that you deserve and expect to be successful. Okay. And at the end of that, we're going to expect a 5-star review. And we're going to expect maybe hopefully a referral. And we know we have to earn that. So we'll check in on this along the way. Okay. Now, this is the team that's going to handle and make sure that we live up to this mission of ours for you. And you notice when you were doing your research on us that we've got over 720 or 730 5-star Google reviews. You know, you were probably referred to us by another agent or something like that. Like, you know that we walk the walk. Okay. And this is the team that helps me do it. Stephanie's been with me for 8 years, Leslie for 3 years, Christine for a year, Bailey for a year. This is the whole team that's committed to your success. And they're really good at what they do. You're really going to enjoy working with them because I know I do, right? And they got my back. They do everything on the logistics, marketing, promotion, contract, and everything. I do the strategy and I do the negotiation. Does that make sense? So for any of the important conversations we're going to have about your money, you're going to talk to me about it, about the stuff about getting scheduled and how it's going, all that stuff. They're going to communicate with you about that. Does that make sense? Perfect. Okay. Then I'd go, great. So now let's talk about, and I go into their, we'll go back to their timing, but we just did that. So we know that we need to be on the market by April 15th and it's March 31st. Perfect. We have a couple of weeks to get the home ready. Now, what I like to do is aim for something we call picture day. Okay. Picture day is the day that everything is ready and that we start our 5-day process to get you sold, to get you the absolute top dollar of the market. Okay. And picture day is when we've gone through, we've done some decluttering, we've cleaned the carpets, we've rearranged some furniture, we've done just a couple of things that we need to do that I think that will really help buyers get really emotional about your house. Now, when buyers get emotional about your house, they pay more money, right? But if we don't do some of those things, they're going to start putting a list together of reasons to not pay you the money that you think they should pay you. And if we take the simple things off the board, then they're going to stay emotional about your house and they're going to pay you. Okay. And then we're going to price it in a way that a lot of people will get emotional about your house and it'll drive the price up. Does that make sense? That's still going on today. Okay. Now I understand I'm going to recommend some things and you're living in your house and this is your house. Excuse me, the leaf blower is going. It's a little better. Okay. Now I understand this is your house, right? And you've been living in it for a long time. So I'm going to make some recommendations and I don't want you to be offended. We just have to get used to it. So now this is your home and we're moving it to the asset class of your wealth, right? We've got to milk it for as much money as we can in this market, right? Okay. So I say that now because I don't want people to get offended at me when I tell them to move the dog walker out of the hallway. They will. Okay. So now, like, that means that they're like, they've let their guard down. They're like, okay, I understand what's about to happen. And if we need to, we'll walk through room by room and say, let's do this, let's do that. Or if it's complicated and I think more needs to be done, I'll say, listen, let me bring my stager by. I'll pay for it. She's going to give you a list of things to do. If you need to repaint rooms and you got way too much stuff and you have the ability to get it cleaned up and get it ready for the market, then we're going to set that path. And once again, that gets triggered as soon as you hire us tonight. Does that sound good? They almost always say yes. There may be some questions that come up, but that's, and you know, we kind of negotiate back and forth on the, oh, they're right by my door. We'll, you know, if we have to negotiate on things to do, not do, things that are important, things that aren't important, we have to walk them through that. Just remember, this is an asset. We want to sell it for as much money as possible. We don't want buyers trying to figure out how to talk you into less money. One moment, please. I have all my windows open.
This is real life, right? You're muted.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, yeah, thanks a lot, Cronin. It's not even their day to be here right now. What a surprise. Got to be ready for anything. All right. So, okay, so this is what we do. Now, so we're back to this price, okay? So we're back to this. Now we're going to do these repairs, and this is what I recommend the strategy be. But here's the deal. We're going to fill out the paperwork tonight with the dates that we just talked about, okay? And I'm going to leave the price blank as long as we can agree that this is the general range that we're going to try to operate within, okay? Now, the reason we're going to leave it blank, and I do this pretty often. Sometimes I have to write in a price because people get a little weird about it. Actually, that doesn't happen that often. People generally trust us when we're in there. And I'll just say, listen, right before we're going to do all this preparation, we're going to start doing the pre-marketing to get your home ready for the market, to get buyers excited about it, because we want to line them up for day one of this day 5 thing. I'm about to get there, guys, for this day 5 of this process. And we want to price it so that they see instant value and they want to go see it. They're going to line up around the block. And you know what happens in an auction effect when buyers line up around the block and they all want to buy the same house, right? We've seen it. We've been hearing about it on the news. It can lift the price way up, right? Right. Okay. So I just want you to be looking at this while we're talking about this. Now, we've gone to picture day. Okay. We've done a little bit of paint. We've cleaned the carpets, right? We've got our architectural photographers come through and taken some amazing photos, which I pay for. We've got drone. We've done the Matterport, like we've got the whole package. And about 30 minutes before we go on the market, I'm going to call you and say, okay, here's the price I recommend and here's why. One of the reasons we're going to wait till that last moment is because of these guys, all right? This is my buyer's club. All these things you see down here at the bottom that you know that we do. We advertise, we do interviews and commercials with Barbara Corcoran on Good Morning America. We get hooked up with the Shark Tank with Barbara Corcoran. We're on KLBJM on the radio. We pay special attention to how we're ranked in Google, right? Our phone rings nonstop from people all over the world that see this stuff, all right? And what they do is they want to know about what it's like to buy houses in Austin. What's it like to buy property in Austin? And my buyer team is overwhelmed busy. By the way, if you're looking for something, agents, all right, they're overwhelmed busy with qualified, ready to go buyers. I always know what the buyer psychology is at the moment we're going in the market. And chances are we have buyers that want to be in your house and in your neighborhood. So I'll know what their psychology is, guys. This is inside information that we can use to price your house perfectly so that we can drive the price up as high as possible. That sound good? Now, one of the dangers to overpricing pricing it in the C level, I put that C column in there because I think that's where we can get if we do this strategy correctly. All right. Now, one of the things that we know about our buyers is that they're preconditioned to give up appraisals, all the contingencies go away, but they're preconditioned to pay a certain amount over the list price, not a percentage, it's a certain amount. And if they see that you priced it high and they think they've got to stick another 100 grand on top of it, they're not going to do it. And they all think they're all working with the same information. So if you price it too high, you might not get any showings, even though there's 300 people that are on the builder's waiting list right around the corner. Okay, but if we play the game right, they're going to pay way more than this high price because we're getting them excited and involved in the auction. That's how it works. It's just a psychology. Does that make sense? Yeah. That's liquid gold right now, by the way, for sellers. Okay. So they're like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. It's really exciting. It's like, guys, I promise you. And by the way, it's just my job to get you information when we do this. You're going to have all these offers, right? And I guarantee you one of them is going to be the top market price for the top of the market price for your house. And it's the one that you're probably going to take, right? But you don't have to sign anything. If you don't think the offers come in high enough, you don't think there's enough interest, you don't think we're doing a great job, we can wait till the next weekend, or you can reboot if something changes. You do not have to sell your house if you don't like the offers that come in. Right? But just so you guys know, by the time they get all the way through this, they're committed. And with the way the market is right now, unless something really weird happens on a Friday night, like they're going to get their money as long as they do it the way we ask them to do it. Okay. So we're back to here. So like, great. Now I recommend usually it's somewhere in between A and B, but we're going to figure that out right before we go on the market. Okay. So this is picture day. I'm saving the best for last for you guys. Okay. This is picture day. where we talk about staging and decluttering, landscaping, painting, clean carpets, clean the house, maintenance, allow buyers to get emotional. Like that's the whole point of this, all right? That's day 0 of day 5. We're about to talk what the next 5 days are going to look like, and it's be very brief. But I just want you to know why it's just 5 days. It's day 0. And from that moment on day 0 forward, the house has to stay immaculate like it's a museum piece until we're done with this. You guys okay with that? Now, if they have like dogs and kids and all these things, you got to walk them through like what that showing process is. All right. I mean, it's like if you've got to compress showing times on certain days, things like that, because they got naps and things, you know, you just figure that out. But those first days are critical because if you're doing the things that we recommend, like you're doing some pre-promotional, pre-marketing, pre-MLS, whatever the laws allow you to do, you're doing all that. So you're building up buyer awareness. You're telling your own buyers you got something coming up, right? That's what we do. So you're building up anticipation, right? And then they'll be like, well, what's the price? What's the price? And you say, it'll be in this range. You can gauge it, right? All right, let me get to all the way to this. Can you believe it? You waited 40 minutes for this one slide. All right. So this is my favorite. This is 5 days of sold. This is time tested. You notice how simple this is? Along the bottom of all these slides, you've seen all the marketing promotion that we do to make sure that your home is not for sale secretly. It's not a secret that you're for sale. All the features and benefits are going to be listed. All the amazing photos are going to be listed. The floor plans listed. People can take virtual tours of your house. People will FaceTime. People will look at it online from California, from Dubai, from Brazil. We've got them all, right? So day 1, it's the day that we took the photos, right? And that's usually on a Wednesday. On Thursday, we get the photos in. Thursday afternoon, we put it on the market, all right? That's when the calls start. That's when people see it pop up on all 95 feeds, real estate feeds that they're watching at the same time, right? So that happens. And they'll start scheduling showings. Sometimes they're going to be Thursday night, but generally it'll start on Friday, okay? You just need to be available for that. Just know that it's going to be a little bit uncomfortable because you're probably going to have a whole bunch of people coming through your house. All right. But remember, you want more people to see it, and you want people to see more people seeing it because that's going to raise what buyers are willing to do for your property. All right. So that's on Friday. Showing starts Saturday. On the markets on Friday. Okay. Saturday is when the showings are going on, when the bulk of the showings are gone. Sundays, we do open houses. We love doing open houses because that's when a lot of buyers can just jam the house into their busy schedules. Right? And we start collecting offers. Now, offers will start coming in. We get a lot of text messages. We get a lot of phone calls. We get a lot of calls from buyers themselves. They want to know what they need to do to be successful. Okay. We tell everybody, unless there's like a crazy lease back, we tell them exactly the terms that we want. Then we tell them on the price. We want the cleanest offer you can give us. We're okay with financing, right? It doesn't have to be cash. I like financing, right? I don't love appraisers, but I like financing. If there's any appraisers on here, you feel me. All right. So on Sundays when we start collecting offers, and we'll let people know like we're getting offers in, and we'll let the sellers know like, hey, just got this one, just so you know, but you already know the drill. On Monday morning, we're going to collect all the information. We're going to summarize like the top 5, and you and I are going to have a conversation about them. Those agents will be let know that they need to be nearby a phone or email so we can talk to them about their offers. You know, there's always going to be offers that are right around list price or just a little bit above, and they're trying to be cute and all this stuff. We don't do cute. I want serious offers on Sunday. Okay. I don't like to play those weird games. I don't have time for that. I really don't have time. I did not have it this week. I want to talk to the serious people that seriously want to buy your house. And I'll know that because they made amazing offers right out of their chute. Now, and everybody can do this a little bit differently. We'll let everybody know like, okay, hey, listen, on some houses, we'll say offers final and best due by whenever. And I like to do Monday nights now because they'll come in overnight. Then I can wake up Tuesday morning, summarize everything. And by Tuesday at noon, we're in a contract, right? This is a similar situation, but some houses you're going to get where there's 1 or 2 or 3 really good offers. And those are the 2 where it's like negotiation day. All right. And this is what I tell people, negotiation day, whatever avenue you choose on how you want to respond to offers and what you want to let people know and what the seller is going to ask you to do on their behalf and who to respond to. That's the key, is negotiation day. And this is when I say, listen, guys, you can hire a lot of agents, but you can also hire me for the same price. I've done this over 1,000 times just in the last like 24 months. right? We know what we're doing. Our team is equipped for this. Does it sound good to you? So we've talked about your timing. We've talked about the little things you need to do to get prepared. In fact, we've already texted Ramon and he's already told us when he can come over and give a quote to paint a couple of these rooms, right? Stephanie's already working on getting the carpets cleaned. All we need to do now is hire us. And by hiring us, you just sign this listing paperwork. I'll go back, turn into Stephanie, and we unleash the hounds. How's that sound? 95% of the time they say yes. It took a little bit longer than 20 minutes, but usually about 20 minutes is about how long that is. Okay. And then we're under contract. Now there are some times I have some extra slides in case like marketing, promotion and Google and all that stuff. Like it kind of depends on where their eyes light up on what I'm willing to what I want to leave the slide on. Okay. So when you go through these things, I just gave you the 6 slides that it is. This is kind of the bonus one that shows all the marketing, promotion, the TV, the radio, and all the things that we do to make sure the phone rings, that we're always in tune with what's going on in the market. If you guys have these resources, great. If you don't, put your resources on there. They won't know. You'll just tell them this is amazing stuff. This is why I'm so successful. This is what you'll say to them, right? How many of that was that helpful for? Was it a little goofy? I know it's a little goofy. It's super simple. But you know, if you notice it, and thank you for raising your hand out. If you notice it throughout there, I'm just saying, we're going to do the paperwork. You're going to hire us, right? It's the presumptive close because we don't have much time, right? We got to execute this right away, which is the truth. You need to, and I think it's probably more true now than it's ever been before. Rates are about to start eroding equity, right? Probably. I also thought energy stocks were going to skyrocket last week. I was wrong. Okay. So there's things you can do, and they're already thinking most of this stuff in their head because they are online researching the heck out of what to expect, what questions to ask you, and who you are. And the key to this to remember, y'all, is that by the time they call you or text you or email you, they've already done most of their investigation. They've already made like 80% of the decision to hire you. You just got to come in with a plan and leave with a signed agreement so you can get to work. Is that helpful? Please say yes.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, let's open it up. We got some questions maybe, hopefully, possibly. Do you guys want to leave this up or y'all want to see each other? Okay, how about we stop that? The first questions, it seems like they come armed with a ton of knowledge and they throw a lot at you. Well, that's their job. They're consumers, right? They want to know all about like everything that's going on. Guys, you just simplify the process for you. That's a great question. We'll get to that in a minute, right? Mark Benson, 303 Pleasant. Actually, no, because they're friends of mine. I didn't have to do a presentation at all. By the way, referrals are amazing for that. Did you show 303 Pleasant? How do you know about that one?
I make it to business to know who I'm sending referrals to.
Oh, I like that. No, Pleasant, we've sold houses for them before. So they just, and I just stay in touch with everybody, right? So I always know like when they're about to have a major life move or they just sold a company, right? We like accelerate the kind of conversations. And then I just walked in and I was like, okay, but it was the same kind of thing. It's like, we need to redo the patio. We need to paint. We need to do some things to get the market ready and we need to stage it, right? So we presented with them, we just presented solutions for them. They have 3 dogs and kids and like their life is totally chaotic. But I presented the solution and they already trusted me because I live in the same neighborhood, right? And I've sold houses for them. I sold houses for the people that relocated to them. So I didn't have to do the presentation. I didn't have to talk about the reviews. I didn't have to talk about the marketing promotion, but I did have a script, right? These are the things we're going to do. This is the timing that we need to have. Help me understand your time. Like they did still do the 30 questions that we have, but Chris didn't do it. I just know him from memory. So I can make sure I'm checking all the boxes off, right? So I know how to help them. They still, obviously you still have to be professional. You still have to have a plan. And by the way, so far so good on that one. Sold on the second showing on the second day. Anyways, so I use a laptop. I don't have an iPad. I got too many Apple products as it is. So I use a laptop, but it's fine because you can just pull it up and you can just thumb through it. But I also leave that, just so you know, that Excel spreadsheet that has the prices in there. We do that too, because we want to be able to adjust any of the prices if we need to. Like if you get in there and like, oh my God, there's like this amazing $200,000 pool in here. You didn't tell me about that, right? And you just put it in because it wasn't in Google Satellite. So let's talk about that. Now we have to like pivot on the fly. That's where market knowledge is really important, right? If you get there and the lot's a lot even prettier, the view's even better, right? There's a lot of things that can come up that you need to be able to make a pivot for. And then if it's too much information, just tell them, it's like, listen, I need to recalibrate my numbers because I wasn't expecting this, right? And they'll respect that. They don't want you to tell them a bunch of nonsense. Okay. Now this presentation that I just gave, this is more for like our average, like up to probably like $700,000, right? They've already done the research. They're in the tech industry. They're out of, a suburb in North Austin or South Austin, Round Rock or Pflugerville, something like that. This is the presentation to get. This is kind of like, these are our singles and doubles, if you will. Does that make sense? So I'm going to insist on pricing it. It depends on the situation. I mean, if somebody wants to list higher than it's listed, than you recommend, or it'll sell for, you just make an agreement with them. It's like, listen, we can do that because right now there's market forgiveness. You can be on the market for a bit. If it doesn't work for 2 weeks, we knock it back to what I recommend, and the buyers are still going to pay. They're still going to bid it up because they're just waiting for you to get reasonable because they got to tack on that extra amount of money they're used to paying. Okay, that makes sense.
Yep.
I don't get the commission question a lot, honestly, because they see the value in all the marketing, the promotion that we do. I mean, guys, it's a lot. It's a lot. We're on almost every morning. We're in somebody's TV or on somebody's radio, right? We have a lot of our Google 5-star reviews. They see that. They want to be a part of that. If they're asking about the commission of doing a reduced commission, the answer is just no. I don't know how to do a bad job. And if you're asking me to cut something out of this, that means that my whole system's going to fall apart. I can't do that. But that doesn't come up that much. Now, that doesn't mean that Redfin and some of those other guys haven't cut into my business. I just don't know. Thank you, Sonny. Do you pay for staging? That's a great question, Kevin. Sometimes. Okay. And then it depends on the style. Like for Pleasant, since that was brought up, I did pay for 1 month of it, but we didn't have to do much. Some homes need like a total makeover. And then those are the kinds, when that's the case, we've got to pull back. We've got to talk about what that looks like. We have to get more opinions. All right. But if it's like under $1 million, and I don't know, usually not really, but sometimes I will pay for some. It's expensive. I did that in like November for a couple of listings, and I was like, holy smokes, that was a lot of money, right? Because that stuff adds up. The CMA, I used to carry around, so I will have a CMA available, but I find that if you get lost in the weeds on some of the numbers, you're there forever and the conversation goes wonky. I want to find out how much they trust me and how much homework they've done. Now with Zillow and Redfin and all these other aggregators are out there, people have a general idea of what their home is worth. Now, if they're way off, of course, that's why we ask them the pre-qualification questions. I want to know where their mind is on these things. But if they're close, then I know that I can show them ways that we can either get more money or less money or why. But if we're far off and I still like their motivation, the reasons they want to sell, and like all that makes sense to me, then I'm going to go there and I'm going to say, listen, this is what's really going on in your neighborhood and around you. And because of our buyer psychology from all these different price ranges that we know about, like, this is what I know is successful. And you don't have to like it. I mean, if you want somebody else to do something crazy, then that's fine. But I know this works. And generally by the time we've had all these conversations, I'm in their living room, like they trust me, right? They can see that I'm just straight shooter about this kind of stuff. That's why I leave out the CMA, because I think it could get complicated if you're both already right there. And remember, the goal on most of these is like not be there for 2 hours because they don't want you there for 2 hours either. Does that make sense? Yeah. How's it change for luxury price homes? It depends. Again, that depends. Most of the luxury stuff that I do is from people that I've worked with in the past. So I don't have to go in there and do like this big presentation, all that stuff. It's more about the relationship and then they need to know that I've sold in that price range and I've sold in that neighborhood and I know exactly what's going on. Now I do that where I, like in some of the areas around town, not all of them, but where I have contacts, I keep them updated. I send them text messages. Hey, a home really similar to yours just sold for $7.5 million. I know you're not selling right now, but just so you know, right? So that's just adding massive value to their life constantly, right? And when we sell stuff in that price range, then it goes out to them. And we let them know, look, we're still successful doing these kind of things. We sell stuff from like, we sold a $159,000 lot to like we're working on a $16 million deal, right? I mean, it's all over the place. So it's really, we just have to be careful about like how much information we send out. But by the time I get into their living room to talk about it, it's really just the process, because again, the price has been decided. Now, in some of those, I will adjust my commission a little bit, just so you know, in all fairness. You guys can unmute yourselves and ask me a question.
Clay, regarding the staging, something that I've been doing recently is agreeing in the listing agreement that listing agent will provide a $1,500 allowance for staging. If the home sells above list price, that expense converts to a seller expense charged back at closing. And I've never had anyone disagree with that. And they always end up paying for it after closing.
Is
So
that
that's a
okay?
good way. If someone asks about staging, that's a good way to just pay for it up front and collect a rebate at closing.
Is that an if-then situation? If then, you know what I mean? Like, well, can that get you in trouble?
Yeah, you just word something like that correctly and it handles it. That's a great idea, James. I just like to be careful about some of that stuff because that, like, I don't know. And it's just it's personal preference. I paid for more stagings than I wanted to last year, so I'm attempting not to do that this year. But sometimes it just calls for it. Some people don't have the money. Some people just look at you like, well, you're going to make 200 grand. Like, you want to pick this up? And I'll be like, yeah, I'll pick this up. Right.
I have a really good stager that's not that expensive, so I can put her in the chat if you guys, I mean, she's incredible. So she's not super expensive and she's really, really good.
Thank you, Shelley. I love that. Any other questions, guys? So what I can do is I can compress down and pull out some of my, like, this presentation, excuse me, and just send you our basic presentation. Just remember, guys, the best advice I can tell you is that listing, your listing, like the listing experience happens well before you get into the living room. All right. They're researching you like Mark's researching me now. Like, they're researching you guys like crazy. They want to make sure that they're going to spend time with somebody who knows what they're doing, right? You don't have to have 721 5-star reviews like we do or whatever it is now, right? You just have to look competent. Somebody pointed them into your direction, okay? So they just want to make sure you fit the mold that they expect. So be professional, right? Provide good knowledge. And ask these questions up front because it will help you be more prepared. So when you actually go to give the presentation in their living room, it's not a long one. It's informative, it's concise, it's easy to follow. And they sign the paperwork at the end of it. Does that make sense? Yeah, it's beautiful. And on my team, other people do most of the work. Hey, Chris.
So Clay, what you're saying is you still, just because you like to do it, for your team, you still do the listing appointments, or does Leslie help with that some, or?
Yeah, I'm still doing probably 99% of the listing appointments. We're working on it. It's a work in progress.
No, I mean, it seems like it's a definitely an art form to get that simple, and you got to repetition, I would think, is a big part of it.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, it's been good. And it's hard right now. Listings are hard to come by. So when you get that moment, when you get that phone call, like, you got to be Johnny on the spot, because otherwise somebody like me might be like right behind him if you don't respond to him quickly, right? And we're not going to let it slip through our fingers. So you just got to make sure you respond. respond intelligently, ask these questions. I think better than this listing presentation that I just did for you guys, the 30 questions that we ask people is probably even better information for you. We'll make that available too. Learning how to get their, find out their motivation, find out about their house, find out what their expectations are, right? Find out how they found you, find out what's most important to them about when they meet you. All that stuff sets the expectations. So when you go there, you know exactly what to do. Does that make sense? You guys are amazing. You just listen to me for an hour. Sorry about that. Now you know how my team feels. You have any other questions, guys? You want to ask any buyer agent questions, any team questions, anything? Okay. Well, I'll tell you what, we help agents do a lot of things to help them improve their business. If you want to have a conversation about that, I'm not going to recruit you. I know you're not going to make a career decision in 30 minutes. Okay. But I love to help people. So if you want to have that kind of conversation, come in, we'll set up a time and talk. If you want to go through this listing presentation again, where I don't get it out of order, I'm happy to do that too. Right.
We very much appreciate you opening up your playbook and sharing. Great contribution.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.